Hey guys, I'm back, and today we're going to going tiptoeing into a little bit of esports. My personal opinions on to why esports is the way it is, or not really why, but more along the lines of what Town Masters have entailed. Now, there's a lot of speculation currently happening right now in the LCK, specifically T1, SKT Telecom, where Faker maybe potentially be leaving SKT. This is not necessarily confirmed, but there's a lot of speculation. Um, and that's kind of a problem for SKT because I may believe the majority of their fan base and players and fan base in general is just Faker. So if they get him removed, it might pose actually a huge problem. Um, but we're going to talk about the 10-man roster, the issues that it's been having impact on players, and why I personally think it's a terrible idea to do 10-man rosters, and how the current climate or current state of league does not allow this to actually happen. So we're going to talk about the 10-man roster, and the 10-man rosters is SKT has a 10-man roster with its current players. I may believe there's closer Glenn UC. I'm not exactly how to pronounce his name, unfortunately. Faker, being one of the big ones, and a few other players. I don't know exactly at the top of my head exactly all the players that would actually be on the roster. I don't keep a huge tab on actual the LCK, but I do know of at least SKT in general a little bit. But what made me attract to this actual issue is that Meteos, when talking to Double Lift, they were talking about how SKT was having problems with their rosters and with their roster and how they're not performing as well, and and the 10-man roster. So I decided to look this up, see what was going to popping up, and I found the 10-man roster thing with SKT and all the mental problems that they've been having, psychological and in game and out of game, and then there was also a lot of issues that was happening in I eventually found out that as Faker is leaving. So there's a lot of things that have coming into play here that seems to be like a huge issue. So one way I'm going to actually talk about this is I don't think as 10-man rosters are good, especially in current league. And the reason why this is because the game has advanced so far to the point where you need perfect cohesion, perfect synergy, and stuff like that. In order to perform to the best of your ability as a team. The game has become so complex and so and it's so tough that you need to really have a team that stays together and can practice on their own. I do agree some benchings may need to be needed if the player is underperforming. I would agree with that. However, too much benching and constantly swapping out players can lead to a lot of psychological problems or more mentality issues in general, where it would pose more of it will actually hurts the roster than help. We could go here with typical of this is for the SKT one, but we could go here with a Cloud9 and Cloud9 bench Jensen Sneaky and Smoothie for week 1 of Summer Split. This was a huge problem back in the day. They benched Sneaky, and Sneaky didn't like it. I may believe he addressed it on his stream, and then Jensen also addressed it later on after him not being there. Was when he was back on Team Liquid. It caused a lot of problems and bitterness in the team. Of course, there are rifle benchings, and it happens once or twice. Okay, you suck it up, you grow a bit, but it didn't make sense. Especially this getting up to biking Cloud9 hugely in later on, because when they were doing this new testing or doing their roster update or whatever it may be, is that they ended up when they put Sneaky and Jensen back on, they went on a huge win streak, like a massive win streak, so big that they actually shifted the whole situation from them desperately losing to Reapers and Jack's terrible decision, and to making them actually be able to go to Worlds. That's how big of a difference it was. Cloud9 was able to compete in Worlds 2018 because of that roster that they were trying to shift. They also tried to do this to Zensway and switching out in between Blabber and Zensway, which also causing more problems because, Essentially what happened, it made them lose Sylvester Garen and made them lose Jensen, and they had horrible problems shifting between their new mid laners, and this was big. This was a problem for Cloud9 because not only did they eventually lose their one of their best mids in the region, they also lost a really powerful jungle, although he's not so good right now in current year, but they did lose a huge chunk of it, and they have that to blame. Now, however, everybody can go back and say, well, they won, you know, the LCS in spring, and they did that with the roster change. Yeah, they did, and they dominated, but then they didn't reach Worlds that year. So I mean, you can also use that as a battle to that. So I mean, yeah, sure, they won handedly, but then they lost and they never went to Worlds, and they kept on blundering, and it was mostly due to Blabber's hyperactive and very aggressive play that cost them that because he was performing so bad that that it was an issue. I mean, even in yesterday's game, they lost at TSM, which they had no business losing to. Everybody was super fed. Perks was literally running it down. Fudge doing his special losing top lane and never performing. Granted, he was ganked in Tower Dove and stuff like that, so that makes sense why he was low in CS. But still, he was so demonstrably behind that he actually caused the single reason why they were losing the game, 100%. So I mean, at the end of the day, it caused this benching was a huge problem, and it caused issues. Cloud9 did put Blabber in for Worlds, which I can't really find anything here, but they essentially tried to put in Blabber for Sophisticated, which I was mentioned stated, and it was a problem. With Faker with the TSM with the SKT problem, the team's atmosphere and all this, which we'll go over real quick here, is that this is gonna start going more in depth into what's happening with the SKT. This was an actual interview by Fomos, I believe, and it's stressful for the players and stuff like that, which it is quite stressful. You can't exceed in that environment. It's just not going to happen. What I feel lately is that there could be players who are suffering a lot because of the competition between the Team Mass roster. I think players will also get a lot of stress. On the other side, the good things is that the players, I think for the rookies, players, even if they split up a little, they can believe in other players. Which, yeah, but if you're fighting for your job, this is not what's going to work. Players like to have at least some type of comfortability that they're not going to be fired. And when you have the fear that you're going to be fired, or there's not always that person coming up next to you, it's not going to cause like a very happiness or straightforward thing, for the player. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. The players are going to become like, oh, the players can go on to, on the stream and whatever, say like, oh yeah, I don't have no ill will against them, but they probably do. Like deep down, they probably have some type of like a little bit ill will or unsatisfiedness to that player that's trying to take their spot, because it's their job on the line, right? That it depends on, this is normal in any circumstance. If some guy comes up and that person's fighting for your spot or fighting for your job, your reaction is going to be completely different. You're probably not going to like the person. The guy may actually be 100%, a nice dude or whatever. But in that point in time, even though he's a nice dude, you're not liking him because he's threatening your source of income, even though he's not doing it purposely. So yeah, it's a problem. So I don't see how the believe in the other players is a stupid statement, because that's not, in reality, that's not what happens. Danny and Faker have different ideas regarding the team. Danny is known for fighting a lot with Barrel regarding how the game should be played. This could be the same situation. This is a normal occurrence, I would say, in any situation when you come with with a team. A coach and a player will potentially fight or discuss things, which is not necessarily a problem. Faker seems to have decided just to go with the flow. It's not every player does this, unfortunately. Faker does not seem to remember feedback. Advice given to him by Danny, maybe there wasn't any that was important to him, seemed to be the same situation where created during today's POG interview. I don't know what this Danny or whatever this guy is, if he's a high ranking player. But if he's not a high level player, if he's not in Master or Challenger, I'm sorry, dude, you're not gonna reach these players, especially a world class level mid laner like Faker. You're speaking to Faker, like potentially like one of the best players in the world, and you're speaking to him, and you're trying to and you're not gonna be at least Master tier. At the very least, you should probably be Challenger if you're trying to coach a man like Faker. Come on, guys. Players don't normally mind, players don't normally mind to be, don't mind to be any sort of issue with coaches, but they also want to meet them at a certain level, right? They want them to meet at a talented level to where they understand the game and they understand the players, and then pro players even better because they understand the faults and some of the issues that pro players have to go through. Now, this is not necessarily required for players that are at a pro level to be coaching. However, it is a plus. But I'm sorry, if you're not going to be at least Master or Challenger, you shouldn't be able to talk to some of these players, man. Unless you have extensive knowledge, there's no reason to. Team Monster is definitely affecting the players' negative psychology. Yeah, I would agree. There's no getting around that. It could be that starting players are decided by who fits Danny's picture the best and follows his orders. Therefore, the starting match not be decided based on who's performing better, which is a huge problem. Performance should be a huge key. If you're going to be a coach, you should be talking to the player and trying to see how both of you are discussing and how you could do things. Performance is actually a huge issue, a huge thing. I would say performance is probably even better than your actual vision. Sorry, Danny, but that's just the truth. If I have a player that's performing miraculously well, and he's not exactly fitting my vision, all right, well, that's not a big deal. He's performing miraculously well. He's obviously doing something that either you're not teaching him correctly, or you're or whatever the case may be, and that's on you, right? But he's still performing. He's still giving you the dubs. He's still performing well. He's not being the detrimental to your team. So if that's the case, don't remove that guy. 100%. If he is not the problem, then don't remove that guy. It's just ridiculous. There's zero reason to remove that person because he's performing up to your standards, if not higher than your standards. So don't remove him. Just stupid. Just stupid. Just stupid. Most Faker's Korean fans are saying he has never been this aggressive in interviews when talking about his team, and an ex-Evan journalist has tweeted he is not the kind of kid who would say things to that extent. Korean fans believe it is regarding Faker's interview, but this is just a guess. Head coach Yang, the self-proclaimed god of LoL, will his experience with the Team RSC or be a complete failure? Today. Sorry, guys. Didn't mean to say that. Teddy has also said a similar thing about the deciding factor for the starting position after the win against Liv SB. He mentioned that he did not play the style of ADC that Danny wanted, so he is trying to play more aggressively and change his philosophy about deaths in the game. This could be good or bad. ADCs have a style that they normally want to do, and they usually prefer best in that style. Now, there's some ways to help improve the player. Then yeah, but the style is not working. Obviously, they're 7-7 guys. They're not performing well. This is an issue. This is 100% an issue. I don't know why people think this is oh well, he needs to perform this way. Well, yeah, even if you want him to perform like that, he's not gonna get the rotation. He's not gonna get the time with his team if you're not letting him have time to gel with the team. Because you're putting another player in his place. Oh, he's not doing what you're doing? Oh, well, he's going to put another player in there. Stupid. Yami is a fucking monster, guys. He's a monster. I've seen him. He's a beast. Let him be with the main roster. If he's a young talent, let him build that talent. Let him perform, guys. Don't keep switching him in and out. This is not just for LCK teams or SKT T1 or SKT to begin with. This is for all rosters. Cloud9 did this, and it backfired on miserably. It backfired so much. Guess what happened? They don't bench their players anymore. It was so bad that they literally do not bench their players anymore. That's how bad it was. It got to that point. So, like, you could tell that benching players has a negative impact on the player, and even to the point to where players are, even if you have a multiple man roster like Reaper wanted, it wasn't working. I don't know why these Korean coaches thought that having a multiple man roster is the good idea to go for. It's not. I'm sorry, Korean coaches, but that's not how this works. If you want a solidified roster and you want a stable roster and you want a strong competing team, you have to. You have to have a solid 5 roster, have them perform, and coach them the way you want to vision yourself. If you have a vision, then let those 5 players vision. If there's a player that's underperforming, then you replace that. You bench that player and you put them in. See if that works. If it's not working, put the other player back in. But stop. For a love of God, just stop making 10-man rosters. It's not going to work. League does not work in this field anymore. It does not work. It's too complex now. And the fact that we got to have this 10-man roster, no. It's not going to work. You're seeing it right now. You're seeing it, obviously, just not work. After Teddy's interview, many fans got an idea that Danny might be choosing the starting members not by best performing, but by who matches his own vision of the game, blah, 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 or the ones who agree to play with who he wants. As he also mentioned in an interview, that Faker is a player who has strong opinions and always asks questions, so it isn't very easy to make Faker accept Danny's views. I would suspect so. The man won SKT 3 damn trophies. Hello? I would be surprised if he didn't have strong opinions and he would always ask questions. That's normal. If anything, that's what you want from a player. You want a player to ask questions. You want the player to, to make sure that what he's saying is right and or whatever. Like, you want that from a player. If I was a coach, I'd be begging on my knees for a player like that, because that means the player wants to prove or tackle or at least prove him wrong. Okay? And if you can't do that, then you're failing as a coach. All right? I hate to break it to you. And you're obviously failing as a coach. I hope SKT fires this guy. I 100% hope SKT fires this guy. He needs to be fired. Korea mentioned in today's interview that it was a factor of subbing in Teddy for the second game. The reason was Teddy matched the red side more, while Guma matched the blue side more. Okay, that's a little bit more understandable, at least. Like, you're just putting them in better situations that match better. But still, even still, like, stop doing this. It's not working. What was the feedback after winning a set game? Thinking about, don't know about that. Can't be as there's no such thing, but I got a great tip yesterday scrim. So does this mean the coaches do not give any feedback after every game, or do they really give us some feedback? That's some context since the match against SKT, against KT. Sorry, guys. And especially after the match against Live SB. Some of these names are really hard to say. As at many LCK analysts, I am sorry, guys. Ex-pros and just people who know something and somehow related to LCK were saying that T1's performance is awful. They all kept saying T1 is not cohesive, which I would not be surprised at all. Does not have any macro. Again, I'm not surprised. There's too many rookie mistakes and lacks very basics like warding and stuff. Articles were also published that talk about how T1 is lacking basics and how T1 is a kindergarten and how T1 is slipping hard and so on. So it wasn't just fans, just the whole SK were disappointed with T1's performance. WR, it would be a lie to say that the atmosphere is good, but both internally and externally we're going through a hard time and everyone's quite suffering. And in a situation like this, we are trying to keep close with each other and get through it. Yeah. Yeah. This is having a negative impact on the players. If you're the CEO, you would stop this from happening. You would tell the coach at this point that you need to select a roster, make it like this, and that's it. Otherwise, just stop doing it. This is having a negative effect on the players, obviously. Faker's acting on his unusual self. This is not good. A 10-man roster is not going to work. All right, guys? I keep on saying this, but it's just not going to work. It's causing stress. And this stress is having an effect on the players both outside and inside of game. You want the least stressful environment for players. You want the players to feel the most comfortable as you can, and you want to make sure the players are performing the best of their ability. And this is obviously not happening. I will say this to the actual players themselves, like the individual players themselves. The fact that they have this score right now, with and under these environments, is fucking phenomenal, guys. It's phenomenal. It's actually impressive. I may believe Sandbox had a thing with this too. But yeah, guys, I don't understand this. We were going through this type of thing, and then the coaches just think it's okay to do this. Time and time again, we even have like research and even dating back even to some other teams that do this, that is not doing well. It's not the best thing to do for the players, for the team, for the organization. And you guys lose Faker, you're done. You're done as an organization. You won't have nearly as much fans. Like, it's just over. I don't watch LCK, but I see the issues that are lying here. And me being an amateur owner at the time for a team, I know how players work. I know how players are going to perform and know how they're going to react to certain situations and benching. And how other players will talk to about other players behind their backs and stuff. Like, I know it all. I see it all. I see the stress. I see the issues. And it doesn't work, man. Benching is bad. Benching is very, very bad. I understand the reasoning. Sometimes it has to happen. I understand that, coaches. I understand that. But you want to limit to it as much as possible because it causes a stressful environment. It causes issues. So you want to make sure you do the least amount of benching possible. And for the love of God, do not do a multiple man roster because it does not work. All right? Stop it. Just stop. Just don't do it anymore, all right? SKT, I hope the best for you guys. I hope you figure your shit out. And I'm hoping that you can perform to the best of your ability. I believe in Faker. I believe in Gary Uzi. I believe in all those players. That whole 10-man roster. But I want a 5-set roster. I want to see after that stress is removed, how those players are going to perform. Hopefully summer is a better kickoff for them. Because, that it's spring, so it's kind of like whatever. But hopefully this becomes a better statement for all those players. And by the way, NA teams, take note. Don't do this. I'm looking at you, Jack. Looking at you. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Jack, because you did this and you failed, alright? And you already failed on the top lane thing with Fudge. I mean, I don't know what you're doing, Jack. Don't know what you're doing. Although, I do love Fudge's personality. Listen to him I listened to him a little bit on the LS thing, which we need a lot more of. I love the job that he did with the analysts on the LCS broadcast. That was freaking great. I loved it. I love his personality. I don't think he's a bad kid. I think he's a pretty okay kid. But I am not liking his performance, Jack. I'm sorry. I'm just not. You come down and you saying like, this is like the best top laner or whatever. But not the 9th. Sorry, Jack. Yeah, he's having a couple good performances here and there, but he's always constantly losing lane. I'm going to tell you this right now. As a final statement, and I'll end this. If he's not up to snuff by, midsummer, remove him. Because you're not going to win with that guy. You're not going to win with him. You're not. You're not going to be a world-class team. NA is already a problem, and you're going to be stuck with this. And probably deal with the Perk situation because he's literally running it down. Until then, guys, see you guys. Leave a comment, subscribe, leave a like as well. And I'm going to see you guys in the next video.